Welcome to Urban Communities. I am Max Palacio, the CEO and founder of the company. I wanted to take a moment to give you this welcome and to tell you a little bit about our company and how we started it. This is a new company that started in 2008, though the concept started in 2016 with this property where we're at, which is Urban 188. We strive to reuse as much material as we can. We make our properties environmentally friendly. We reduce our gas consumption, our electric consumption, and our water consumption. So we're environmentally friendly, so sustainable. Now, on the other hand, sustainable because before buying a property, we look at what the area median income is. That is, what is the income of a household in that area? We usually buy properties and we renovate them for the people that work in the area, creating a community. So when we look at the median income, we make sure that in underwriting, before buying the property, our rents do not go over 30% of the average income of the area. We do that because we consider that a rent that is up to 30% of the income is a sustainable rent. Now, if that rent would have to be 40-45% of the income of someone, they might be able to pay it once or twice, but as soon as they have a hiccup, car broke, or some medical bills, or anything like that, they will not be able to pay the rent, and we will have to evict them, which we never want to do, but more importantly, they will lose their home. And that's something that goes completely against our mission statement. Our mission statement is to improve people's lives through the development and redevelopment of sustainable communities, creating value for residents, stakeholders, and society. We've done a lot of things without you, but we expect to do a lot more with you. So thank you for joining the team. Let's go on and take the tour. We came to a part of the renovation in which we needed to address signage. Signage is usually a very expensive line item, and we didn't have money, but we did have a lot of pallets, and this was the right time to use them. So we decided to build our own signage made out of pallet wood. Residents loved it, and we loved it because a lot of our heart went into it, and that established the way in which we do things in the company. So this has a huge amount of value. A lot of things are symbolic here. Let me show you the door. So this used to be a very, very small door. I built this one myself, meaning all of the framing inside, I built it. And then I had someone put our pallet wood again, covering it. When someone new comes into the property, they actually ask about it. What is this door? And sometimes you see them that they stand here and they are kind of afraid of pushing it. But let's go in. So this beautiful wall was covered by layers and layers of paint. I actually had a general contractor tell me that there was no way in which we could remove the paint. He even brought a sandblaster and he just couldn't do it. So I said, okay, don't worry. I went to the Home Depot, bought a disc, a grinding disc for flooring, and I did 1 square foot. I showed him how to do it, and then I fired him. And instead, I gave it to one of our construction guys, and we did it. There's no space for saying, I cannot do this. We will always find the way to getting it done. This wall here is also made out of pallet woods. So the wall didn't look good, and instead what we did is we decided, okay, it would look good, the combination of concrete block with pallet wood. With all of those pallets from the construction material that we had bought, we decided to build a wall. Cost of this? Nothing, zero, and it looks beautiful. We always like, as much as we can, to recycle material. It's sustainable and also it lowers our cost. It's very important to lower the cost because as we lower the cost of the renovation, we're also able to lower the ultimate price that the resident is going to pay to live here without jeopardizing the returns for the investors. So it's all conceptual, but the environmental portion of it is very important to me. I come from a country, Argentina, which is a poor country. For the most part, we have to make do and we have to reuse as much material as we can. So I'm bringing that culture to our company so we appreciate all of the value that can be created through this practice. There's a story to this lamp. With such a door and such a beautiful wall, I wanted a statement lamp, but we didn't have money to buy a statement lamp. We could have bought any cheap lamp, but that wasn't what I was hoping for. So instead, after watching a lot of YouTube, I decided to make a lamp myself. These are all Perrier bottles that I drank with my wife. And after a lot of burping, we cut them off and we put together this. Crystal's husband helped me and he did the framing on metal and we created this lamp. Every resident that comes in, after looking at the door, then they look at the lamp and they say, wow, where am I? It's just something that they like and it syncs with the right people. This property had absolutely no plants when we came here. It was a desert. You will see that it's very lush. I love lush properties, green, life. And we put all the irrigation, we put all the plants. When we first planted the plants, they were all this little. They were 1 gallon plants. And now they just took over. And it just makes the property look softer and prettier. When we first bought this property, these metal spokes were too separated from each other, and the lender and insurance company had problems with that. They actually asked us to weld another spoke in between. Now that would have been very expensive and it would not have really beautified the property. So instead, we came up with this idea, which is a thin piece of wood that we just wove into them and provided the security that they wanted. So now we are using this in many of our other properties. I remember touring this property once with an asset manager for a lender, and when we got here to the barbecues, he asked me, how much did you pay for these barbecues? And I said, well, give or take $1,200 to $1,500. And his jaw dropped and he said, I can't believe that. I just authorized an expense of $20,000 to build a set just like that. I said, well, yeah, I'm not surprised. Do you have a general contractor there? Yes, he said. Of course, because that's what a general contractor would do to you. It's just blocks of concrete, some concrete with rebar, and then we have the barbecues that you can buy at the Home Depot for, let's call it $100 a piece. The only difference is that those barbecues, when they sell them, they are prepared for propane gas. What we do is we just change the orifices, which is a little part in the gas lines, and then we have them accept natural gas. And now we have a barbecue set for our residents for $18,000 less than it would have cost us if we had gone through a general contractor. When we first bought the property, this was a dirt lot. It had absolutely nothing except for the trees. As we started renovating, I had a couple of landscape architects come and give me a proposal to chop off the trees, and $100,000 after, they would build a fountain or something crazy. Obviously, I didn't have the $100,000, but I didn't want anything crazy. One day it just struck me and I said, well, why if we build a big deck, a gigantic deck? And that's what we came up with. And at the beginning, while everything was under renovation, the residents were practicing yoga here. And now the decks are a subject of all of our properties. Let's go to the model unit. One of the things that define us as a company is our attention to detail, and the doors are not an exception. So one might look at this and they might say, oh, it's just a door, right? Well, it's not just a door. There's a lot to it, and we do the same thing in all of our properties. So in every door we install these kick plates, because if we didn't, within 2 weeks a new door would look old. What happens? Most of our residents open the door with their foot. So do I at my house. With this, we avoid the doors getting dirty or damaged. We even pay attention to what screws do we use on our door jambs. The reason why we do that is because we can use 1.5 inch screws and then 3-inch screws. The 3-inch screws will avoid or prevent someone from breaking in just by kicking the door. We also have the door sweep. We have the weathering strips. We have the number, the placement of the number. In most of our properties, we place it here. It's just different. On the other hand, residents see those details and the doors continue to look new year after year. By the way, this door was installed here in 2016. It still looks amazing. This is our model unit. All of the units are exactly the same. Doesn't matter if they are the model or they are occupied, we just do the same everywhere. This here used to be a wall separating the kitchen from the living room. We decided to cut it down and put a countertop. Many reasons for that. The first one is it creates the perception of space. But second, these apartments are rather small. A table with 4 chairs just takes a ton of space. The countertop saves space. Now there's a story with this countertop. I call this iPhone 1 because it's our first property. As we keep progressing, just like the iPhone, we go through iPhone 2, 3, 4, 5, iPhone 13. This countertop is made in-house. I always say at urban communities, we don't do granite countertops. And there's a reason for that. A granite countertop for an apartment like this would cost about $2,500. Our residents, who might also like a granite countertop, they just don't like it enough to pay another $50 a month for a granite countertop. Instead, these countertops are just fine, they just love them, and obviously now they're even better than this one, but even this one, they just like it, and it's fine for what they need. It's made out of plywood, as cheap as it gets, so instead of spending $2,500 for this countertop, we might have spent $250 for the whole countertop. With the same concept, we have the cabinets. Again, this is iPhone 1, but these cabinets were, for the most part, the boxes were in good shape. So instead of just trashing the boxes, we removed the doors and cut new doors. These are bevel doors that we just cut and made it work. Our residents are fine with this. Today, in most of our properties, when we renovate, we set up a wood shop and we have a process by which we make cabinet doors, and they are significantly prettier than this at the same cost. But we'll see that as we keep progressing on the other apartments. Backsplash. I mentioned that every apartment in this complex is exactly the same, except for the backsplash. The reason for that is this is a $17 per square foot backsplash that I bought at the Home Depot after a Black Friday sale at less than, I think it was 35 cents per square foot. So they were just throwing it off. I remember one day driving through all of the Home Depots on my wife's truck, picking up as much backsplash as they had. Didn't matter the color, didn't matter the size, nothing. I just had to make it work because I didn't have $17 per square foot to pay. I did have 35 cents. And all of the units have backsplash. The only thing is that here the backsplash varies from one unit to the next. And it looks beautiful. It looks clean, it looks streamlined, nothing to it. So I mentioned that if we did granite countertops, we would have to charge another $50 to our residents in rent just to achieve the same result. So we don't do that. But instead, we provide internet, and that's a modem router in the unit. And so instead of giving them granite countertops that really don't add a lot of value to their lives, we give them internet. And they pay the $50 that they would have had to pay for the countertop, they pay for the internet, which they really use and appreciate. And imagine this, moving into an apartment where internet is there waiting for you. You don't have to go through a new credit check by the internet provider. You don't have to put down another deposit. You don't have to wait 2 or 3 days until they come and install. Here they move in and it's ready for them to start using the minute they walk into that door. The AC is the most expensive part of the apartment, and this is it. So this used to be a chiller property. For those of you who don't know what a chiller property means, is a central system, a central AC system that has 2 pipes that run throughout the entire complex. Those 2 pipes, for the most part, have been buried about 50 years ago. So today they are brittle or they are full of holes and they don't really work. So that was a challenge coming into this property. What were we going to do with the AC? Especially here in Arizona, where we have summers with over 120 degrees. So it took some time, but we put together a system. I call it distributed AC, where instead of just having one AC unit per each apartment, we have one condensing unit every 3 apartments, and each apartment has its own air handler. And this is it. This is the air handler, which is incredibly efficient and very silent. It provides a great quality of service to the residents, and the utilities have dropped 50%. Let me repeat that. That's not 15, that's 50. Our cost in utilities because of this change has dropped 50%. So this is huge, and it provides real AC to our residents who really appreciate it. So we also needed mirrors, and a mirror this size would have cost about $150 a piece, and we didn't have $150. So what did we do? We bought the crystal part of the mirror, and as a backing, we cut a piece of MDF and we beveled it. And that's it. For our residents, that's perfect. It was value, so obviously they needed a mirror, but it was the value was there for them at a cost that was significantly lower than we would have had we not been creative. In all of our properties, we also make sure that we change the toilet bowls. The reason for that is, first, our properties are old. No one wants to move into a property with a commode that is older than they are. That's one of them. Second, usually those old commodes have leaky flappers. And one of the main sources of consumption of water in a property comes from leaky toilets. So instead of dealing with that, we just change them. So the residents move in and they have a new toilet, and they are very happy to put their tushies on it. So one common theme in all of our properties, we have this concept of open closets. The reason for that is that closet doors are very expensive, so it raises the price of the renovation, and they don't really provide good value for the residents. And they are always a maintenance hindrance. They always break, there's always problems with them. So instead, we do this, we just leave them open. We also build a beautiful closet interior that now makes the space look bigger and tidier, and the residents really appreciate that. As we were renovating this property, we realized that these apartments would not have a view. They would come out and just look at an empty wall. So we started thinking about what can we do to make that look prettier. And one day I woke up in the middle of the night and I said, I got it. We're gonna build trellises, and we're gonna have plants growing out those trellises. The problem was that to build a trellis that size would have cost back then about $20,000 that I did not have. So then I started thinking, okay, how can I solve this problem? How can I still build a trellis with my $200 budget? So I realized that these walls are made out of concrete, and they have been standing here for 50 years. So of course, they will support the weight of a trellis and then some. So instead of just building an independent structure, we attach the trellises to the walls, and the result is there. These units get rented like this because now residents walk out into a jungle, and they appreciate it. So as you can see on this and other properties, the trellises became our signature. We have trellises in all of our properties, and we love them. Today our trellises are made out of chicken wire, but back then I wasn't sure if that was gonna withstand the weight. So I bought this wire, which is made for corrals, and I remember calling somewhere in the Midwest and having them ship it to me, and it worked great. That's why you see that this is squared and not the typical shape of the chicken wire, which we have elsewhere. I just love this. This pool used to be a hole in the ground where people actually would dump garbage when we first bought the property. The fence used to be 2 feet away from the edge of the pool. It was impossible to use. Not just that, it was empty, there was no pool equipment, nothing. So what we decided to do is expand the area of the pool, and now it became a real amenity. Here we have a lot of events with our residents, from potlucks to some grilling. We also do yoga in the pool, volleyball in the pool. So now it's, as I said, it's a real amenity that our residents can enjoy. This laundry room looks nothing like it used to. When we first came in here, the laundry room was very narrow. It had a wall, I don't know why, dividing it. and it used to get vandalized every day because the equipment was coin operated. So we were out of contract with the vendor of the equipment, and I called them and I asked them for a meeting, and basically I was asking them to get us new equipment. They laughed at me. They said, "Your residents don't do laundry." This was at the beginning of the renovation, which was true. The residents didn't do laundry. They only stole the coins. That was a different type of resident. So when we decided to renovate the laundry room, I asked our residents, "What do you need in a laundry room?" And they started saying, well, obviously new equipment was number one. But then some others said, we need folding space. We need a sitting area. We need a sink. So we listened to them and they noticed that. And the result of it is not just happy residents, but they started referring to their friends and friends of friends and so on. That created a great effect. And now we have a tribe that lives here with us. And the proof is in the pudding. Today, these laundry rooms make more than an apartment. So as we go with prospective residents on their tours, they come and they walk through this green path with beautiful plants that weren't here before, and now they are huge. But the most important thing is that when they see the community garden, they just can't wait to sign their lease. It's just something so unusual for them. For us, the community garden has been great because it's a place where our residents meet with each other. They work together. They have harvesting parties. And that is really what defines us. We engage our residents and we help them engage with each other. And that is how we create communities, urban communities. Welcome to the Cold Kitchen. This is the real heart of our community. This used to be a garage with a dirt floor. And at the beginning, we used this as our wood shop where we would cut the cabinet doors. As we built the community garden, we realized that we needed a place where to work with those vegetables. So we decided to create this into that space. As I said, we call it the Cold Kitchen. So we built this table where actually they come and they work with their vegetables. Now we do many more things than just that. We also do cooking classes here. We do arts classes here. This is the heart of the property. And it's the heart of the property in many other ways. If you look at the artwork on the walls, this is all made by our residents. I remember there was this pile of cabinet doors cut at the wrong size that everyone wanted to throw away, and I would tell them, don't throw them away yet. I don't know what are we gonna use them for, but we're going to use them. Everyone made fun of me until that Valentine's Day, when I said, okay, we're gonna use them as canvases for our residents, and we're gonna let them create art, and we're just gonna have a contest, and they're gonna vote amongst each other, and whoever wins gets a gift basket. Well, that became a tradition of every Valentine's Day, and they decorate their own space, which makes it feel their own, even more so with their artwork on the walls. Another thing that happened spontaneously is that the residents put together this circulating library. We didn't do anything there, it was them, and I love it because they made it their own. We give them an apartment and they convert it into a home, and that is what makes the big difference between our communities and other apartments. I hope this video helps you look at things differently. A door is not just a door, a barbecue set is not just a barbecue set, a plant is not just pretty, but it provides much more than beauty. Always look for ways to create value. I am very excited about the company that we're creating. Now with you, even better. Together, we're creating this rocket ship. Welcome.